Let's picture this.
In any case, seems like we are starting, so welcome everybody. Thank you all for coming to MCA 2019 for the Mania Section Mapping Awards. I'm here alongside Davey, if you want to present yourself as well.
Yeah, my name's Davey, and I'm known as a mapper and PM, I guess. And yeah, I'm joined here by Random.
Hey.
Or should I call you by your real name? Do you want that instead?
Honestly, I don't really mind, whatever works for you.
I think we're starting out with, what was it again?
Marathon.
Yeah, Marathon. Which map was this again? Can you clarify?
This one's just on the waiting screen, I believe, but the first one that we should be speaking about on Marathon is going to be Swiggering by Titan.
Oh, oh yeah, that one. Wait, now we're seeing pictured as perfect plus.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this was the first one we should be looking over, but
I think this one was. Oh, this one was marathon. Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
so this map is really, really, really hard. Even like the 4K difficulty, it's a challenge. But then you play through the 7K, and it's like a league of its own. Like it's one of the most difficult map that you can find in the ranked section for 7K.
Yeah, and its star ranking is deceptively wrong. It's way harder than people expect, and the SBs that accompany it do not make it any easier for people to understand and grasp what this map has to offer. And if you add that this map is not by any means short, the consistency needed in order to play this map properly is incredible, and anyone that can pull that out is amazing.
Yeah, they're a legend. I think Jackheads got close to FC, but yeah, FC in this is like really difficult.
It's both really difficult and impressive by any means.
Yeah, like you haven't seen anything. This first part, it's a cakewalk compared to what's about to come. Like it's extremely stamina draining up to one point. It kind of turns into a stamina map of a sort.
Although I have to be quite honest, I'm surprised that this map only got 3rd place. It's not only very famous, but because of what we just said, it's also very infamous.
Being so difficult, yeah. I don't know either. Well, I guess it's because the 7K is more well known and the 7K community is smaller, so probably see more 4K up for the marathons and Camellia, of course, because Camellia.
Well, yeah. Another reason might be that this map is not friendly for new players or even amateur players on the 7K game mode. In any case, for those who are able to play this, it's really fun. It's honestly a really fun original map that you won't find anywhere else. Plus, the song accompanying it is very good.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's among my favorites of France. Alright.
Yeah.
No, I'd rather see, like, wait until we see the... wait again. I like the break section is really long, so it's best if we move on. Yep, and we're going with D for the Delta. This is a collab between Mint, Drago, and Kobe, I think.
I believe so, with QQ Ain't and Kobe indeed. And there you go, obviously the mapper itself.
Yeah. This one also pretty infamous. It's not as difficult. But it is certainly very difficult. If you're like a beginner, you don't want to play this map. It's very tricky at times, especially the long jacks, which can be very stamina. Like this can be straining if you're not used to like such long jacks.
Yeah, I would say that the word for it would be challenging, because it's not that it's made to be hard, but because not only it's long, not only it has very weird and technical patterns, but the hybrid nature of the map does mean that the player is required to have a broad skill set in order to be able to play it comfortably, which also makes this map quite a good tiebreaker for some tournaments.
Indeed. It has a lot of skill set in one package. It's a bit price leaning, but that's fine. Not sure who mapped which part again. I think Mint mapped like the break sections, if I recall.
I believe it has one or a couple of them, I believe.
I think this looks like a Kobe part.
In any case, most people that play this map will end up having a favorite part because, as said before, because it groups so many skill sets in one that at the end of the day you're going to end up finding something that you like, and that's what makes it such a popular pick, I would reckon.
Yeah, indeed. And with that said, I think we can move on to the next one because yeah, this goes on for a while. And yeah, this one and we're going with Suren, which is quite unique in the ranked section at least. It's of a piano song, which you don't see often. It is MIDI, so it isn't live recorded, but it still has a lot of like strange timings to get used to, lots of graces. But the timing is not the difficult part about this map, not at all. It is incredibly, it gets incredibly dense, and the HP 9.5 makes it a matter of not missing or you'll die, because 7k is unforgiving, especially on those kinds of high HP values.
Indeed, you must truly be a piano master if you really want to get a good score in this map, which honestly, it's one of my favorite picks, myself at least personally. It's really original, at least for its time. Getting to see these kinds of maps in 2019 was quite a fit. And the way that both the 7K difficulty, the one currently shown, and the 4K difficulty are mapped, it really does accompany the piano movements really well, especially the 7K version of it.
Yeah, it is certainly very pitched relevant, like PR we call it in Mania. The columns are supposed to match up to the pitches of the piano, well, loosely, because if you would do it one by one, you'd end up having a very weird mess. But this one certainly pulls off both very well. It's certainly very pitch reliant, but it doesn't come across as too reliant on it. And it plays very nicely if you can handle it. It gets dense at parts, like there's a very big short stream where a lot of people die because even missing once can lead to several other misses, which then just knocks you off completely. You almost have to FC it. Like you can't get around it.
I guess the word for this map would be expressive. It does feel really pleasant to both play this map and listen to the music alongside it. It's really well made, and it definitely did deserve this first place alongside D4 Delta. That way, both 7K and 4K players will have something to be proud of.
This does have a 4K difficulty as well, which
Yeah,
was it's hard for sure. I didn't pass it for a long time until I got better at jacks. But otherwise, I think the 7K one is a lot more remembered in the community.
definitely.
So,
In any case, I believe we can go to the next one, into our next section, which is going to be SBs, more known as slider velocity.
yeah, or it can be known as speed variation.
We're going to be starting with Made in Love. Quite honestly, it's really well-made map. It's more of a hybrid map rather than an SB map, but because of the SBs really do accompany the song in some of these sections, it does increase the experience that the players have with this map, which does make it a good candidate for a second place in this case.
The long note part doesn't seem to be particularly tricky. Well, this doesn't look to be like a very difficult one. Hold on, it's 8. Oh.
Also, it's quite surprising, but there's 8 maps tied for second on the SV section.
Oh my god. We're going to see 9 maps. I think we have to move quickly then.
Yeah, we should probably move
next
quickly.
Next map.
Yeah, let's just go with the next one. This is quite an original map, nevertheless, because the SVs really do accompany the weapon sounds, and for those who like these kinds of things, it is really well made.
Oh yeah, this is like very reliant on the gun sound. This song has a lot of gun sounds.
For a reason, it's called weaponized. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of gives me Sabaton vibes. Yeah, we have to move.
Yeah, let's just go quickly with these ones.
Oh yeah, we're back.
Perfect. But probably, as seen before in the marathon section, you've probably seen that the SVs are mild. However, the patterning used alongside these mild SVs does make it really, really tricky. At first, when you're seeing it, you're not expecting it to be that much of an issue. However, when you start playing it, you start realizing that it gets confusing. And the good thing about the SVs is that they accompany the chaotic nature of the song being played.
Yeah, they're not intrusive while being unique, I'd say. Like, the SV effects are very satisfying to look at, in a sense. And that's why I think it does deserve a mention in this category. But yeah, we'll have to move on now. We're going with cycle hits, right?
Really? Well, yet another chameleon map, I must say. That's the second one on the list and not the last one. In any case, besides being a chameleon map, it's certainly hectic, and certainly the SVs do make it more fun.
Yeah, this I think is the... I'm not sure what was the SV part, but I think that was one of them.
It was like after this, there's a small one, then there's a couple more. The SVs are fairly sight readable, so they are not intrusive. However, for those people that want to learn them, it will reward them, because the map is more fun the more you play it, because the more you learn the SVs, trust me. It's a personal favorite in this section for anyone who wants to play any maps in the SV section.
Alright, we'll have to move on now. I'm not familiar with this one, unfortunately.
So this one does have some SVs, but they are, as seen, fairly mild. They can get you, and I do speak from experience. They will get you countless of times. However, the SVs do accompany a very mild layering most of the times, which does make it very pleasant to play. However, it's not pleasant when you miss those SVs, so you better learn them. That's my personal recommendation for it. We should probably move on.
Yeah, so we didn't get to see much SV in that one. Oh, this one I think is more SV heavy, from what I remember.
Yeah, some parts are very SV heavy, while the other ones are more long, notey, hybrid parts. But the SV sections are really, really well curated alongside the song.
Is it just me, or is the music very quiet? Could you try?
I believe it's the map itself's music.
I guess it's starting to at least get somewhat audible.
It's a very chill song, which does make the experience more pleasant and calm for those who just want to lay back.
Yeah, it's certainly like not super difficult, And it's also a pretty hardcore is known for making stuff that you wouldn't normally see, kind of the anti-meta in terms of song choice we have in Mania.
Definitely a fun, short experience that everyone can enjoy because it's very accessible.
Yeah, certainly. I think we have to move on now.
Now, about this map, another kind of hybrid map, and the SV sections are, again, fairly mild. Some teleports here and there, but nothing you cannot side with. However, the way they accompany the song and the way they keep you at the edge of your seat every time there's an SV does make it a tad more fun, in my personal opinion.
Certainly. It's not intrusive at all. It's like not a precision map. But as you can see, it gets pretty jumpy. It likes to jump a lot. It's kind of cute.
Yeah, this is probably the first out of all the SV maps tied for second place that its SVs really do take more than just like... They are not just the background, the SVs are part of the map itself, and that does make it a little bit more intriguing to play if you're searching for that kind of skill set in a specific.
Yeah. And I think we have to move on right now.
Running full system diagnostics.
And we're at Overkill. This one had a this one has a SV section basically. It's like a stutter SV section with Georgiacs, which can make it pretty dizzying, at least for me. I think you like it, Random.
Yeah, it's really... Definitely was one of my best experiences when I started playing the game. It's not very accessible, it's certainly not very difficult, at least compared to other maps, but it's definitely fun. When you start playing this game and getting to these kinds of tricks and starting to play these kinds of patterns as well, it does get really, really interesting. It's not... I wouldn't say that it's sight readable for anyone that's like around this skill level and looking forward to play this map. However, it's not... The SVs are not intrusive and they go alongside the song really well, and the rhythms are very stable, so it's fairly hard to get yourself lost in the SVs.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to just die on them, I think. Well, I might be wrong, but I certainly didn't find them to be too difficult. They were like there to accentuate the various hard sounds going on. It's very aggressive, certainly, which I think the SV takes advantage of. We'll see the SV part soon. Just wanna get that out of the way first before we move on. Yeah, this part.
As seen, the SVs are very stable, but at first that will get you inevitably.
Yeah, if you just sight reading this because of the distance between notes and the non-scrolling part of it makes it quite a rude awakening. Like you just, oh, what do I do? What do I do?
Yeah,
and then you die.
Definitely one of the most popular picks out of the SV category, like in general, not in terms of votes. In any case, we should probably move on into the next.
Yeah.
Finally, as for our first place, I would say that out of every SV map that we've been seeing, this one's truly a map that stands by the SV name, because you're not going to side rate this. It's very SV reliant. It's very dependent on someone's capacity to, well, first and foremost, you need patience for these kinds of maps. You're not going to get a good score without patience, because you're going to be playing this for a long time if you plan to get a good score. However, once you start getting the ropes of the map, it certainly can be interesting to play it.
Yeah, I think this one is most deserving of the SV category because of how abrupt and tricky the SVs are. It's like really difficult and a part of the map, a very like obvious part of it. It's not in the background and takes full advantage of the song. So in my opinion, very deserving of the first place. And as Random said, you'll be playing this a lot if you want to get a good score on it.
Yeah.
And with that said, I think we're moving on to the next category,
Which is going to be long notes, or sliders, for those unaware of what it means.
You certainly like saying sliders about long notes a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're going with Paran non-Molsonne, which is a 7-key map. It's known for its farmability because it has like difficulty spikes that just inflates the SR, but whatever, we're not here to talk about that. The map itself does feel very aesthetic, which is probably what I describe this map as.
Yeah, definitely a common trend in Mania to use sliders, sort of an aesthetic trump card, let's just say, which inevitably ends up in doing some of the spikes that you aforementioned. Most people that know slider maps in Mania, those do tend to have difficulty spikes, especially at the end. But in any case, this map is no exception. However, it's really liked by the community, hence that's why it took 3rd place.
Yeah, it is very well known in the 7K community. I know that there was one guy who said that it's like a passage, or rite of passage to play this on DT.
Yeah.
For like any dedicated 7K player, it's very slow and therefore it lends itself quite easily to DT scores. But yeah, I was saying before about how the long notes are very aesthetic, and that is a lot more common in the 7K. It relies a lot more on aesthetics than 4-key, because in 4-key the aesthetics can sometimes clash with the playability, but because of the very multivalent nature of 7K, where there's so many different kinds of patterns and stuff to get used to, it's not a big problem. And I think we'll have to move on now.
Yeah. Yet again, we find ourselves with XYZ.
Yeah, we're back. Regarding the long notes patterns, not particularly tricky. We did say it's quite a shell map. I'd say it's more of a hybrid. Sadly, we did not have a hybrid category for some reason, which is like the stuff that populates the rank section the most.
In any case, this map ended up being nominated for long notes because despite its hybrid nature, the long notes do still form part and they are present across the entire map. So for those who want a chill hybrid experience with some SVs as aforementioned, this is the map for you.
Yeah, the long notes are not tricky at all, but they're always present in it. That one was a kind of difficult pattern, but yeah, it's like present all the time. And with that said, we will move on to the next one. And it's D for the Delta, which was the aforementioned 2nd place for the marathon category.
It was 2nd.
Yeah, it was 2nd. And now it's taking 1st place for long notes. Again, it's very hybrid-esque, but a lot of the long note patterns Oh, there's apparently a tie for first place. My apologies.
Yep.
But yeah, this is certainly one that has like a lot of release-heavy patterning, and at some parts it's like density. In Mania, we have like the distinction between release LNs and density LNs. Sometimes you get wild cards that are kind of like in between, but generally it's either it's release heavy or density heavy. And what density means is that, well, it's like a wall of long notes, and what releases mean is that the long note ends are two very tricky times, like that one. That was like the long notes ends were snapped to 1/8, I think, which means that the it's quite difficult to not drop a 200 on those kinds of patterns.
Yeah, you're forced to press and release extremely quickly.
Yeah, Mania is not very lenient on release timings, which is why many people find these kinds of maps, release heavy maps, very difficult.
Anyhow, we're going to continue with our next map, which is tied for first place with this one. And yet again, we find ourselves with Starlights. As explained before by Davey, the heavy presence of sliders in this map is noticeable, and that's the charm of the map itself. The long notes are the map, in a way.
Yeah, it's certainly you can't play this map because of the long notes and not because of anything else, which is why it's a very good pick for first place. And this one also falls into the pitfalls of the sonnet, which is that at the very end, it just spikes in the density, so that it becomes very overweight. There's like an inverse chord stream, which, while it's very difficult to hit, you can get by it just fine if you're used to just playing chord streams, which means that this is one of the most well-known farm maps, and probably why it's picked for first place, because it's like very infamous. But certainly the map itself is not a slog by any means. It's like very expressive, and like the difficulty itself is very progressive. It's like climaxes in that inverse chord stream, as I mentioned.
In any case,
yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing that. Right now there's like a bit of a hybrid section. But yeah, we'll have to move on. I don't want to drag on too long.
And our next section is going to be hit sounding. For those who actually play with hit sounds, the very few who do.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think both of us can commentate a lot on the hit sounds. There might be a few notable ones that are like what's it called?
Like fully hit sounded.
No, I'm talking about something else. When the pitches are supposed to be
I see.
sounded. I forgot what it was called for a second.
In any case, if these picks got chosen as hit sounding candidates, that's most probably because the layering does really accompany the percussion and main elements of the song, which does make the experience a little bit more dynamic and coherent with the song being played, let's just say. And that's a common trend with all the hit sounding picks, honestly.
Yeah. Don't think we'll be like saying a lot of different stuff for each pick, but yeah, we'll have to look at another one. Say.
Yeah, let's just go to the next one.
And we're at Flowers. It's Was this pitch hit sounded?
I'm
Key sounded, that's the word, key sound.
yeah.
But yeah, this is a very, very well-known set. It has like, last time I checked, like 200 favorites. It has, yeah, this one is definitely
Key sounded
key
indeed.
sounded. Yeah, which is why it is in here. So that's certainly something very unique about this map. You don't see that too often. I think there's like 3 maps in total, 4 maps that
Yeah,
are key sounded.
it's really rare to see, but honestly, it's really chill, relaxing, and comforting to see these kinds of maps and even play them. It is fun for those who are interested in a more like piano-like experience.
Yeah, and it's certainly very relaxing. The very slow song and lo-fi beats, whatever you call it, makes it for a very calming experience, in my opinion. And yeah, I should mention that this one has like every key mode almost. It's kind of like end of the world Blocko set, although much more laid back and short scaled. And this one is certainly most well known for its 9K difficulties. You don't see 9K very often, and the 9K difficulties here are presented as very, very pitch relevanced.
For those looking for a more like anti-meta experience, I wholeheartedly suggest you guys play these kinds of maps.
Yeah. We'll move on to the next one, I think. Magical Holiday by Huang. Not sure why this one is first.
Yeah,
Because I can't hear the hit sounds.
honestly, most people would argue that the first place should have been taken by Flowers.
Yeah, but we have very low voter turnout, so it's like whatever.
Yeah. In case, not much can be said about the hit sounding on this map. It's sort of similar to what we've seen on third place. The hit sounds just accompany the song itself really well in a way that's not really intrusive. That would be the best way to put it out. And maybe for those people who actually play with hit sounds, they did find that experience more relaxing, sort of say.
And with that said, we'll move on to the next category, I think.
Which is going to be spread.
Yeah, spread. We'll see some interesting picks there for sure.
We're going to be seeing a tie for second place.
Apparently so. And they are Many Colors by Vortex, a pretty well-known mapper in the community who is like maps in a very strict manner. He's like very aware of the concepts behind the map, stuff like that. Can we get a skip?
It definitely its strict manner on mapping maps alongside this song being by Frams and its hecticness does make in for like a very weird experience, but something everyone could take a like in. It's definitely not ordinary, but by any means it's bad. I recommend it to anyone who enjoys these kinds of maps and this kind of music. Because of that strict manner of mapping, it's really consistent and the experience is carried out throughout the whole map.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why this was. Oh yeah, this has a spread behind it. And it's kind of hard to illustrate why it was picked for the spread category, since we can't like show all of the maps behind it. But we'll just say that all of the difficulties are mapped pretty well, and leave it at that, and we'll move on to the next one.
And again, we're finding ourselves with Endless Story, and my bet on why this map is very popular on spread-wise is because of its accessibility to different game modes. It not only has difficulties for 4K or 5K, but it also has 6K difficulties, and actually its top difficulty, the one we're currently seeing right now, it's on 6K for anyone who likes playing that key mode, which really, the community really likes these kinds of maps and these kinds of spread because, again, as said before, it's really accessible and dynamic. You couldn't relate one difficulty from one key mode to the other one, but at least everyone will have a map to take a liking in the spread.
Yeah, 6 key is well known as kind of like a gateway drug into 7K, because for 4K people it's a lot easier to get used to because there's no space button involved, which means that this is a very good starting point for those who want to get into 6K after a bit too much 4K for their liking, or maybe they're just getting into the game, like just starting out, and they want like to get used to several different key modes. Certainly is a pretty good pick for that.
Yep.
And we'll go to the next one. Over the Fluid by Blocko. This one I think only had 7K difficulties, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it only has 7K difficulties, which the good thing about only having 7K difficulties and being such a widespread is that it has a difficulty for any player inside the 7K community. It has both one of the easiest 7K difficulties alongside a really, really hard top diff for anyone interested.
Yeah, the top difficulty is like very trilly and very stamina heavy. It's not easy by any means. I know people who have played 7K for a long time but still struggle on it. I still like cannot get a pass on it. It's very difficult.
Yeah, it's not very forgiving, but still, for those able to play it, just like picture as perfect. Even though it's not as hard as that map by any means, it's definitely a good experience to have in order to, like, if you're interested on these kinds of more difficult 7K maps without being extremely difficult or just outright impossible for most people.
Yeah, this one is certainly a lot more rise heavy. You'll need a lot of rise skill in order to play this one well. And that's it. I think we'll moving on to the next category.
And next category is going to be anti-meta. For anyone who doesn't like playing 4K or 7K, this is your section.
We're going with credits. This one, pretty. It's like a 9K set, and what was it again? This one is like very repetitive, but not in a bad way, because the song itself is very repetitive, and it's like mapped also in, as I said, in a very strict sense. You get a sense about why Istic made the mapping choices it did on this difficulty. It's not terribly difficult, but it's among the most difficult of the available 9K maps in the ranked section at least. Yeah, this one is very notorious, let's say.
It's notorious, but for those who can play it, they will find themselves immersed into an experience that's rather comforting. One common trend of 2019, as we've already seen in other sections, is that Frams has been appearing a lot of times. Its songs have truly been an inspiration for a lot of mappers, and the way they map. Because of their mapping choices, concepts used, and methodology used, they end up with masterpieces like this that people end up taking a liking.
Yeah, From's lends itself very well to Mania mapping because of a combination of both the hectic nature of it and the rhythms used. Oh yeah, we'll have to move on now. It's the end of the map. It's a very short one. And we're going with Proto Flicker, which is like a fairly basic, I'd say, 6K map. It's by any means not as dense as I've seen some other Proto Flicker map get. But yeah, this one is also a part of a map set, I believe. So so it's like a very good way for you to get into 7K, I mean 6K, because it's not terribly difficult. And it's like the entire spread is laid out pretty evenly, so you can just practice on any of them and slowly gain the 6K skill, especially if you're new to it. Because again, this one is very light and slow, certainly.
Yep, it's very good for those players searching for a more mid-tier experience in 6K in terms of difficulty. It's not hard by any means, but it's a challenge for those who want to take on 6K.
Yeah, and I think we're going to go on to the first pick now. I mean the number 1 place, which is Flowers again, which is like probably the best pick for this because it has like every key mode that's anti-meta. And it's also to a very chill song, as we talked about before.
Yep,
With key sounding too. So yeah.
Not
So,
only shit. Yeah, just go ahead.
No, I wanted to say what were you going to say?
I was going to say that not only the spread itself was already hard to find by 2019's standards, but the fact that it has so many key modes, not only 9K, it also has 6K for those interested, and 7K, and for those who just want to go the old-fashioned 4K way, there's always those difficulties as well. So not only is anti-meta in a key mode sense, but also the spread itself is already something really, really hard to see in 2019.
Yeah, it's very unique. So the first place is almost a given. And with that said, go on to the next category. And what's that going to be?
7K.
Yeah, it's going to be 7K specific maps. We'll see a couple of familiar picks here, such as this one. Already saw it, and as we've talked about, it's very infamous in the 7K community for being amongst the most difficult 7K map available right now. Blocko is really good at making very difficult 7K maps. He's very well known for his 7K mapping prowess, and I think this one is like his major opus. Well, one of them.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the maps that Blocko is very known for. Again, not only famous for how good the map is and how well the reception was, but how infamous on its difficulty is.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult and unforgiving. And yeah, we've already talked about this, so I think we'll be moving on now. And it's another Blocko map. He's dominating the 7K section.
The common trend you're going to see in 7K is that Blocko, as said before, he's a very well-known mapper in this key mode, and not only that, but he's well known for a reason, because his maps are enjoyed by most people. And again, Over the Flood is quite a good example because it's accessible to all players interested in 7K, whatever difficulty they want to play in, but also its difficulties are very solidly mapped. It's not only made in order to fill the gap, it's an experience that everyone can experience at their own pace.
which means that it's a very good second place pick because this one has a bit for everyone. The previous map, that one was like for the most hardcore the 7K player, but this one certainly has a bit for everyone. And with that said, we'll be moving on to the first place, which is Suren again, and very well deserved at that.
Indeed.
Yeah, we talked about how this map was very well known for its 7K difficulties and for its very unforgiving nature, and at the same time, very calm sound, like song to go along with it, and very dynamic too, I should say. It goes from this kind of very slow and steady part into a chaotic and dense chord stream section somewhere at like the 2/3 mark, I think. And yeah, this one has it's like it goes on for a very long time, but don't let that stop you from getting to experience it if you're capable of like playing it, because it's so much to experience in this map in one like package. So the length is aptly justified. I wouldn't want to see this being too long. And we'll move on to next category, I think, or was it next award? I think.
Next category in this case.
All right. Oh no, we're going into the user categories, which is mapper, mother, most promising, and most influential. And it's a bit difficult to talk about most promising because this was 2 years back. Not entirely sure where they are now.
Yeah, it's really hard to like contrast those people with what they could have been if we already looked into the future, and we're already like 2 years into the future from 2019. So
yeah, it's difficult for sure. We'll be switching on to the user categories in a moment now. And there we go. First user, I suppose, is Kobe.
yep, which
Mapper.
we've already seen Kobe with Starlights before, and with a very good reason. It's a well-known mapper because of these kinds of 7K maps that he does offer.
Yeah, I should say that Kobe's strongest suit as a mapper is making aesthetic patterns, but at the same time being extremely comfortable to play. Like, I think the Kobe maps some of the most comfortable LNs you can ever play, at least for a very high end. Well, this one is more like a middle end kind of map. Sanky people can do some wild stuff. But yeah, these kind of maps are very comfortable to play, which is why he's very well known. Being able to both make very aesthetic patterns and like make them comfortable at the same time.
Yeah, keeping that balance is not something everyone can be proud of, saying that they can actually balance those kinds of concepts together.
Yeah, we'll move on to the next user, which is Logo. And
Yeah.
this one is a loved map, I think.
Can't recall that.
Yeah, this is the loved one. Yeah, this is loved. Yeah, Blocko, as we have already talked about, very well known for his Rise mapping prowess. If Kobe is the long note king of 7K, almost at least, and Blocko is the Rise king.
Which is something we've seen previously in other awards. His maps tend to be hectic, nevertheless. And you're probably going to see him around the love section a lot, especially because of some of his maps are, while not rankable, they're really fun to play if you can play them, and definitely an experience that everyone that wants to learn 7K should have at some point.
Yeah, if you've played 7K, you've definitely known about Blocko. A very well-known name in the Mania community, and certainly well-deserving of the second place. And we'll move on to the first place.
Although yeah, we should probably go to the next award now.
And yeah, it's going to be Kawawa, another really well-known mapper. And also very well-known for promoting all kinds of very difficult 7K maps, as he was a BN for 5 years before he quit. So he's among the 7K legends, and he has made some of the most memorable maps that the 7K rank section has seen, and this one is certainly a very good example. And it's also one of the most difficult examples because it's like 220 chord streams at the point. Very stamina draining.
Another treat about Kawawa that a lot of people will know is some of their slider maps. A lot of people know Kawawa for their slider maps, and you know, they're fun, very challenging, but very hard and fun to play. And that's another reason why they ended up with a huge support from the community, especially now that they are on the love team. They are promoting these kinds of maps to be loved. So for those who still like those kinds of maps, fret not, you'll eventually get something in a monthly basis.
Yeah, well, sadly there's like very little mappers in 7K that's going for ranked regularly, like Kawawa, Kobe, and Blocko were among the people who was a very consistent and ever-present, they were a presence in the ranked section, but now it's most of them not all that active, means that there's not a lot of these kinds of maps being pushed out anymore, sadly. But with that said, we're going to the next category. Which is
In the modern category.
Yep, Scotty. A bit odd to showcase their maps when we're talking about their modding, but yeah, Scotty right now is a nat, so he's definitely proven himself. He with Mystic, Scotty and Mystic were among the best BN duo in Mania's history, because they made pretty much zero mistakes, and they did not get a single disqualification, which is it's a bit difficult to explain to someone who is not a BN like me, but for those who are in the mapping community, you probably know what I'm talking about. In any case, his modding is, I'd say, they're not very intrusive, so he points out a lot of snapping mistakes, for example, and can spot discrepancies across difficulties yeah, it's a bit difficult to talk about modding like that, I'd say. So I think we're going to move on to the next pick, which is Asher's.
Most probably known as a mapper rather than a modder, but a good thing about the mapping in Mania at least is that the mapping and modding community is rather close together. And while not like one-on-one, mappers and modders do tend to have somewhat the skill set of the other side of things, if that makes any sense, which ends up with people being multidisciplinary in both things, and that makes them really reliable when it comes to mods and suggestions because they have the point of view from a modder and the experience from a mapper.
Yep. And yeah, not much else to be said. I think we're going on to the next category. I mean, next user, which is Mystic Guys. And yeah, as I said before, Scotty and Mystic were the best BN duo that the game ever saw. For good reason. Mystic is very well known for very detailed and mods that you wouldn't normally expect. He talks about all kinds of stuff, and he's also capable of modding pretty much every key mode. Mystic for a long time was very interested in 9K, which is one of the reasons he made the credits and the flowers set. Overall, he's well known both as a mapper and as a modder, so certainly very deserving of first place. And we're going into the next category, I think, which is going to be most promising, where there is a 4-way tie. So we're going to make it quick because we talked about the difficulties of assessing most promising candidates before. So yeah, we'll have to make it quick. It's like pretty difficult to talk about in general. Umo, well known as a 7K mapper.
Well, as for most promising, it's not going to be as redundant as SV, but there's a tie for first place with 4 people being on first place, I believe.
Yeah. I'm not really sure about this user. I just know them as a 7K mapper. That might be why he was picked, because he showed promise with some of his first maps in the 7K community, and I think he has a couple of more like in the rank section since. I don't remember exactly. I think one of them I was involved in. But we'll move on to the next one. And oh yeah, everyone is tied for first. And it's Bringo Brango. I think this one is very deserving because Bringo is, like, in this time frame, very well known for his very unique style of mapping. Yeah, it's another strange world. It's they're difficult to put into words exactly, which is why I think he was chosen for this. He showed promise back with Bug Thief, and he's certainly not disappointed. And we're moving on to the next one. Paradoxes. This one, fastest crash.
Well, the only thing that I can say about Paradox is that, sadly, while people had hopes for Paradoxes to come back, sadly this was the only map that he managed to get ranked. So, as for most promising, yes, this map did show that he was very capable of getting good stuff ranked. Sadly, he's not with us anymore. Like, not dead or anything, he's just not ranking maps. Don't get messed up, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, this one is certainly like a very... this map itself is pretty good. It's so it's forgiven that he was a promising candidate for the Sanki community, but sadly, he's more of a... I'm not sure if he even maps anymore.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's like back in 2019. It's been a while, and we're moving on to the next one.
Yeah, definitely promising, because as it stands now, very recently they got BN and they continue to get maps ranked in the section, which are very liked by the community, seems like.
Yeah, he was actually one of the... He was my mentor, well, for a very short period before I just kind of found my own voice. I wanted to learn SV mapping from him, but then I kind of... Yeah, I saw. Well, enough about me. He is well known as a SV mapper, but he maps in such a big variety of styles, I'd say. He has... I think he's most known for his hybrid-esque maps. And we're seeing already the very hybrid-esque nature of his mapping. Its transition of in and out from very dense long node sections into streams and rise parts. So, and also with a lot of SVs just, strung together.
Yeah.
And I think that's it for the most promising, and we'll move it on to
most influential.
Yeah, and again, some influential names. Some well-known names too. That we've already talked a lot about. For might sound like we're repeating ad nauseum. And yeah, it's Shoegazer, well known, and we haven't talked about her before. Also, I wouldn't really pick this map to showcase Shoegazer, but whatever. Yeah, this... I can talk about Shoegazer forever, because she is like just a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things that can come out of this, and for those who like fairly technical patterns, especially in 4K, that should be one of your first sources for inspiration, especially for those who want to get a style for yourself. The good thing about her is that she's always changing, she's always bringing something new to the table.
Yeah.
It's really innovative, that would be the word.
Yeah, they're very well known for constantly just reinventing themselves, going into different kinds of styles, and they've been around for a very long time, like way back in 2015. She got famous for a variety of things, such as the 4K dance, which is like a staple of the community by now. And she has done so much for the community, very well deserved for this. And, well, she isn't stopping anytime soon. She's still pretty active. Yeah, we're going into the next one, the next user, which is Kobe, another tie, I think.
Yeah, tied for second with Shoegazer.
Yeah, we've already talked a lot about Kobe, about how he makes very good like 4K and 7K maps, certainly most well known for 7K. And I wouldn't really pick this again, because he's most known for 7K, which is probably why it was picked. He was a BN for a while, and he was one of the first who got the Elite Nomination Award, actually. So that should tell you some about how influential he really was. this one. See, yeah, this one's a pretty difficult long note oriented map. Yeah, we'll have to move on to the next one. And who's it gonna be? It's going to be Kawawa. And yeah, already talked a little bit about him, but I don't think we've done like enough justice. Because again, he's been around for a very long time. He has been a part of many projects and many maps, well known for all kinds of maps. And this one is like a very Jack heavy kind of. I'd say this one is more of a Jack map, from what I remember. Well, I guess not talking about the maps is not what we're here for. Well, for now. We used to be here for the maps, but right now it's about Kawawa. What else is there to say about him?
I mean, he's been a great inspiration for a lot of mappers. Having been in the community for so long, having made such staple, has been very good for a lot of people, and definitely a lot of people have been not only inspired to map in 7K, but also to play in 7K because of him. So,
yeah, I think that's an apt summary of what he has done for the community. He has been involved in all kinds of stuff, so definitely very, very well deserved. And I think we'll be wrapping up. No, wait, we'll have to go into the Grand User and Grand Award. We're going into the wrap-up of the MCA 2019. So yeah, we'll switch now.
we're starting with the Grand Award for the users. Tied in second place, we're starting with Kawawa, which we just talked about.
Yeah, I think we don't have to repeat ourselves too much, and yeah, just go into the next one. Who is it gonna be? Kobe. And yeah, already talked a bit about him, but maybe we need to repeat ourselves a bit here. Very well known for a variety of 7K maps, and yeah, I just
Even 4K maps, because we've mentioned how it's hard to convey that visual aesthetic feeling into 4K, yet Kobe seems to be managing to pull that out, and this is a prime example of it.
yeah, that's probably one of the reasons why he is very well known. He's both makes very good 4K, but also 7K maps. So he's active in, well, he was active in all spheres, and his mapping is, as you just said, very lenient around just aestheticness and playability. And yeah, I think there's not much else to say about Kobe. We'll move on to the first place. Mystic Eyes. And yeah, this user was among the best BNs and one of the most well-known mappers, having earned themselves several awards. They're just continuously proving themselves that they're among the best. And yeah, looks like they're earning themselves a Grand User Award for MCA 2019. Before they had like Elite Mappers titles, if I recall, and yeah, various other titles. Very well known in the 4K community for their maps. And yeah, this one very well deserving. And with that, we're going into most influential. Wait, no. Grand Award. I'm very tired right now. Sorry about that.
That's fine.
Grand Award. Yeah, let's switch now. You might. Nice. And grand award is third place going to Suiren. I'm assuming this is to the maps themselves rather than the
Yep.
users. Yeah. So this one we've already talked a bit about. It was it has also 4K difficulty by T-Deck and this one by Underjoy. Really, really well known and inspiring, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. Again, as we've mentioned a lot of times before, this is definitely not something you were used to in 2019. And I'm going to guess that a lot of people do like this kind of piano maps. Sadly, we do not get many of those nowadays, and hopefully people start getting inspired by this. Imagine if the next Surin is going to be seen in 2021. That would be amazing.
I think we'll be seeing some piano maps in the 2021 awards.
Yep.
Definitely. We're moving on. I think we're gonna move on now to the second place. Which is Over the Flood. And yeah, we've talked a bit about this one again. Oh, it's tied for first, apparently. Right. Yeah, in that case, a very well-known spread. Very rice heavy. It's not to like. It's also by the song Over the Flood, which is very well known in the Mania community. I mean, not
The VCR change, you mean?
me. No, I didn't even mean that. I meant the Yosu community in general,
I see.
because there's several very well-known maps of this song in various modes, such as Grom's Over the Flood map in Standard comes to mind. In any case, this one is one of the best in the 7K sphere.
In any case, it's going to be tied for first with our next map, and who knows, maybe first place does hold ourselves with a surprise. But we should probably continue and see what's up next. Maybe some people will be surprised, maybe some people won't. Indeed, the surprise is that it's yet another block map. That's how influential he was in the community, especially with his 7K maps.
Yeah, it's tied in from. He's tied for first place from 2 of his maps. That just goes to show how influential he was.
I mean, being tied with yourself is already like a feat, which, you know, technically he got 2 first Grand Awards in 1 year, which honestly, that's quite surprising, but it's well deserved, definitely.
Yeah.
In any case, congratulations for the maps like Picture as Frame as Perfect and Plus and or the Flood are both really well curated maps, as we explained before on the other categories that these maps have appeared. Definitely something that the community has loved ever since they were released.
It bears no repeating that just Loco makes masterpieces of 7K maps, so certainly very well deserved in this regard. And yeah, I think we'll be wrapping up. So thank you everyone for watching, and thank you to all kinds of members of the Mania community for, you know, blessing us with all of these maps and modders, whatnot. So very well deserved to each and every one of the mappers we've been seeing and various users.
Really hope the best of luck for MCA 2020 for everyone who's also going to be involved on it. I can only say that despite we've only shown the 3 best places for each category, but I must say that every mapper involved on each category, they do still deserve praise. Like it or not, all of those mappers have gotten their maps ranked, and that's already a big feat for most people. But in any case, I really hope everyone had fun just looking at the awards, just congratulating everyone who actually got an award, and we're going to be waiting you for MCA 2020. I'm not sure if any of these awards came as a surprise to anyone, but still, we really hope that you enjoyed what this community has managed to achieve during 1 year. Thank you all very much.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming along.